So here's what's implied. When Tesla releases unsupervised self-driving on their existing fleet plus every new car moving forward, why would anyone buy anything else? Especially when the car you can purchase for as cheap as 30 grand, maybe less with their compact car or the cheaper vehicle, whatever that may end up being. And then you can just press a button and pay at least $100 a month to supervise and maybe $300-$400 a month to not supervise, or whatever that pricing structure is, where you can buy that metal that gets you from point A to point B with the ability to get you there without you having to pay attention for $30,000 or less. Why would you buy anything else when the running cost for that exact same thing is potentially cheaper than a Toyota Corolla? What happens then, right? And so my head goes to, unless an automaker is able to, I don't know, figure out a way to put self-driving in their vehicles that's at the same performance and at the same cost sort of level as Tesla, they're cooked. They're completely and utterly cooked, short of licensing the product from Tesla and making a car in the next 2 to 3 years, which it already feels like that's too late, because these guys need, on average, 4 to 5 years of sourcing and on-ramping and development and getting their teams on board and getting approvals and getting investors comfortable with it, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. How do you read that? I mean, the three of us are probably going to agree with the statement, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, there really is a tsunami coming, and I think people have brushed it off. They said, oh, it's, taking a long time. But you're seeing millions of driverless rides happen in the United States today. And that number's only going up. It's not going down. And I think it's actually going to skyrocket, not just keep going up linearly. So, I would take what you said, Farzad, even further and say, why would you buy anything else today? I mean, this thing can be leased for $299, and first of all, it's like a dream car. It's fast, it's fun, it's high tech, it's safe. But then you've got this FSD technology where you can literally give it an address, push a button, and have it take you to your destination. For $299 a month, you can get a car that can run this. It's just crazy. You're mentioning some of these critics who say, oh, this is kind of a pie in the sky thing. I mean, for a lot of people like me, this thing has been driving us around for, 4 years now, since 2020. At the beginning, it needed a lot of help. Now it's able to do entire drives on its own. It's getting to the point where it's like an unsupervised experience. Obviously, you need to supervise it. They have the cabin camera. They make sure you're paying attention. But when you get in the car, you push a button. So I'll give you an example. Last night, I was at my parents' house. I parked in the garage of their house. When I left, I got my stuff, put it in the car, got in the car, and I said home, go. And the car pulled out of the garage. And it's not really that easy of a garage to pull out of. You have the garage here, and then the driveway's here. So you have to pull out, then turn this way. So it pulls out, it turns, it gets onto the street, pulls out, waits for the gate to open in their gated community, pulls out, takes city streets, takes highways, gets off the highway, goes all the way to my house, and then gets into my driveway and parks. And I got out of the car and I went inside, and that was it. I didn't touch the steering wheel once from garage to garage, right? And if I had been in the back seat, which did not do this, it's not ready for that yet. But if I had been in the back seat for that particular drive, it wouldn't have made a difference. The only reason I'm there is because I need to be ready to take over if something goes wrong. But as these sort of safety critical issues become more and more rare, as they enable things like remote interventions, then it's just increasingly feeling like an unsupervised experience even today. And, they say they want to give driverless rides next year. I think it is in the cards for them to maybe do some first driverless rides in a city by the end of Q4 2025.
And it's just so crazy to me that you can take that car anywhere in the United States that you want to, and you can enjoy that exact experience. Like, Waymo can't do that. Cruise can't do that. Like, and not only that, like, it's being subjected to all sorts of torture testing by people who are trying to find, what are the limitations of the system. And the balls that it takes, honestly, as a company to put a piece of software that's that cutting edge into that operating domain is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point, which is really, for Waymo, they don't necessarily know what all of these problems are. The validation that Tesla customers are putting into this with billions of miles, that's what's really needed to prove the system safe. So you really have this incorrect narrative, right? Sometimes you have these incorrect narratives emerge, such as, for example, the competition is coming, that Chinese EVs were going to wipe out Tesla, that kind of stuff.
The
Which,
competition is coming. Oh my God.
yeah, the competition is coming, and they came and went, many of them. But I think really another false narrative is that Waymo is far ahead in self-driving, and Tesla's so far behind it's going to take years to catch up. Well, what you're actually seeing is Tesla's actually doing more with less. I compared Waymo and Tesla. What the Tesla was able to do in 15 minutes, the Waymo took 43 minutes to do because it won't go on the highway. And that's just, part of their system. They are working on getting it to go on the highway. But the Waymo had more awkward moments. It stopped in the middle of the road because someone was sticking out a little bit. You're just seeing the FSD actually drive better, less awkward moments, faster, using the highways, but with far less hardware. And the use case of long distance automated driving is a serious use case, right? Because what is the number one time you would probably love to have some help? When you're driving for 10 hours, right? When you're driving for 20 hours, if you're doing even a 5-hour drive or a 3-hour drive, this would be a great use case for automation. But with the Waymo Cruise Zoox model of a geofenced urban robotaxi, they're not even trying to do this. So if I, as a consumer, and I am somebody who drives between Silicon Valley and Los Angeles a lot, if I, as a consumer, want something to address this need, my options are really Tesla, or Tesla.
Well, there's kind of a third option that I'm curious if you've tried, and that's Comma. Have you ever had a chance to drive the George Hotz self-driving?
Yeah, I have used Comma. I'm a big fan of Comma. I'm actually going to the Comma holiday party in a few days. And Comma is an amazing company. If you actually know the story about the founding of FSD, so Mobileye was the company that made Tesla Autopilot 10 years ago. And they broke up with each other. There was a crash. They were pointing fingers at each other. And Tesla said, okay, we need to make our own autopilot. So Elon Musk calls up George Hotz. And he says, George, I've got a deal for you. I need you to make an ADAS replacement using Pure Vision to Mobileye. I'll give you $12 million, but I'll give you 1 million less for every month it takes, right? So if it takes you 6 months, you get 6 million. If it takes you 8 months, you get 4 million. George Hotz thinks it over and he goes, that's a terrible deal. But he ends up starting Comma. And the goal of Comma is to make a $1,000 dash-mounted device you can just put into any car, any ordinary Toyota, and you can get end-to-end self-driving. And it's very good. If you have like a Toyota or Hyundai or whatever, and getting a Tesla isn't in the cards for you, I would recommend it, right? It requires some installation. It's not elegant and just works out of the box like Tesla. You kind of have to take wires out of your car and wire it into the steering. But it is a great experience. I mean, obviously the hardware is limited. It only has 3 cameras. So the current iteration is not really capable of doing full drives in the same way. It's mostly kind of focused on, driving on the highway and stuff like that. But it's a good, open source FSD like thing. And I think it's going to continue to improve in the future. Like, this really is where we're trending. you know, you hear a lot of debate in the community about like, oh, AI 3 versus AI 4, are they going to be autonomous? What people don't realize is as this technology matures, it'll be possible to take any car and have this sort of dash mounted device. Maybe even Tesla will make one, and that should be able to drive the car. If you just put some cameras around the car, if it's got enough processing power on board, and you train an end-to-end model, that's really all you need to drive a car. You're sitting in the driver's seat, you're looking around. A computer can do the same thing and also drive a car.
And I wonder if that's what the other automakers are waiting for. I don't know if they have that level of foresight, honestly, when it comes to this, because in the past I've seen them behave in a very not self-aware
Retarded.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you say it. It hasn't been a very poor showing of foresight, and I think that's been such an eye-opening thing for me to really highlight just how incapable legacy companies are in seeing the future. It's funny we bring this up because we just got done talking with Amit, and we were sort of talking about how Apple has this problem too, like having that sort of innovative long-term view that say like a Tesla has. And the thing we came up with is like,
dilemma.
Exactly. And then like the conclusion we came to is like, if I'm Tim Cook, why aren't I giving Elon 1% of the company or something? Just dilute it, give him the shares, and be like, just go to work for me. Just help me out in some way. Like put your just hitch your wagon to the best racehorse you have in civilization, and just let him take you to the promised land. And they don't do that. And they have all the money and power in the world, and they choose not to do that. Right? I mean, Elon also has bandwidth issues, let's say, but there are some, you know, XAI, the conversation came up from like XAI's compute. Just put like, why isn't Apple leveraging XAI instead of ChatGPT or their own homegrown thing? Like Apple Intelligence is dog shit, you know, like why aren't you using something that actually works? And then we were talking about Waymo as well. The things we've been talking about for the longest time is Waymo's inability to truly scale it seems like such an obvious flaw because of the approach that they're taking. And so the question becomes, how quickly can they pivot away from LiDAR, sonar, whatever they're using, right? HD maps and heuristics to a full end-to-end model with inference compute on the car and then training compute somewhere else, right? Because that's really the only way that you can be competitive long-term. It seems impossible to be competitive with Tesla or anyone who comes up with this type of self-driving technology, unless you go the 8-camera, 4-camera route, however many cameras you need, plus inference, plus training, plus data, right? It feels completely impossible. Completely impossible.
Yeah, I think for the legacy automakers, they are going to have to license something. That's obvious, but you know what it is, whether it's Tesla's or somebody else, there'll probably be multiple products on the market. Right now, there's nothing even close to the unit economics of Tesla that provides the functionality it provides. I mean, Waymo is losing $2 billion a year, which is, you know, they've made incredible technical achievements running the first
awesome.
at-scale driverless
It
service.
really is awesome.
But yeah, and it's amazing. I love riding it. But as an investor, you want to actually buy a business that's going to make money. And they haven't really shown a path to do that yet. I mean, just their recent announcement of Miami, they said, well, we're coming to Miami in 2026. This is like an eternity in Tesla time, right? I mean, probably before they get to Miami, Tesla will be running on supervised rides somewhere.
I actually have a $100 bet with someone from X that Tesla will have a robotaxi ride in Miami, a paid robotaxi ride in Miami before Waymo.
I could see that.
You know, you could be right. That could happen. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just really about everybody in the world is driving manually driven cars. You know, self-driving cars are like tiny, and it's going to eclipse everything. Everybody's going to be making this transition. So even when you look at the automatic emergency braking mandate that NHTSA is trying to impose, it's funny, the automakers lobby are coming out and they're saying, this is ridiculous. We can't do this.
Like they did with the seatbelt.
Yeah. They're like, we can't include automatic emergency braking. The technology just doesn't exist to do what you're asking. And they're asking, well, okay, just don't hit anybody. If you see somebody, try not to hit them in the day and the night. And they're saying, where are we going to get the technology to do this? Well, Tesla includes this in all their vehicles for free. And it doesn't add a ton of cost into the vehicle. You just need a few cameras and a computer. They could license it from Tesla. And I think eventually they will have to license something, whether by law or just by consumer pressure. And I think that's going to be an enormous opportunity for Tesla. It's actually, I think, going to make the earnings from the auto business look small by comparison. I think the licensing opportunity for FSD is actually bigger than the earnings from their entire EV business. And as you start to see this happen, every analyst model of the company is going to break, because now they have to start looking into not just Tesla's cars, but these other cars. And what people are going to find that I think the market doesn't appreciate yet is there is no alternatives. Mobileye's got nothing. Waymo's got nothing. Comma isn't good enough. There's nothing out there yet that can do what Tesla can do. Now, of course, others will do it too, eventually, over the course of, maybe 5 to 10 years, others will catch up. But Tesla's pursuing this in a vertically integrated way to deliver the lowest cost per mile possible. When you look at the Cybercab, you look at the Unbox process, the Tesla network, everything they're doing from top to bottom is to make sure that they just have a robotaxi experience that's not only the safest, not only the smoothest and most natural, but that just beats everyone else on cost.